All right, let's talk about project teams. Have you ever been on a team that just clicks and another that just doesn't? Well, today we're going to unpack the framework that explains exactly why that happens and how you can guide your team to greatness. Here's how we're going to break it down. First, we'll cover why you even need a map in the first place. Then we'll walk through the journey, the early stages, the mature stages, and the final wrap-up. And most importantly, we'll zero in on your role as the guide through this whole process. Okay, so before we get into the nitty-gritty of the stages, let's start with the big picture. Why is a model like this so absolutely crucial? I mean, this is the million-dollar question in project management, right? The secret isn't luck. It's about understanding that every single team goes on a predictable and, yeah, sometimes bumpy journey. And this is our map, Tuckman's 5-stage model. It was developed by a psychologist named Bruce Tuckman, and it lays out the phases that are not just common, but necessary and inevitable for a team to actually grow. For a project manager, this isn't just some dusty old theory. It's your GPS for navigating the messy human side of getting things done. So the journey begins. These early stages are all about a collection of individuals trying to find their footing and starting that kind of awkward process of becoming a real team. First stop, the forming stage. You know this stage. It's like the first day at a new job. Everyone's on their best behavior, a little reserved, and mostly focused on themselves. Like, what's my role here? The team really leans on the leader for direction because that shared purpose just hasn't solidified yet. So, as the guide, your number one job right now is to give them that direction. A crystal clear, well-defined project scope is the perfect tool. It acts like the team's first landmark, giving everybody a single destination to aim for right from the get-go. Now, after the calm of the forming stage comes, well, the storming stage. And trust me, it lives up to the name. This is probably the hardest phase. The politeness starts to wear off, and different personalities, working styles, and ideas begin to clash. But listen, this is not a sign of failure. It's a totally necessary step. Your role here shifts to being a conflict navigator. The trick is to know the difference between healthy, functional conflict, debating ideas to find the best one, and dysfunctional conflict, which gets personal and just tears things apart. You've got to encourage the first kind and put a stop to the second. That's how you get through the storm. All right, so once you've made it through the storm, the team can start to build on those resolved conflicts. This is where they really begin to hit their stride. When a team survives the storm, it sails into the norming stage. You'll start to hear a lot more we and a lot less I. People begin to take shared responsibility, figure out how to work together, and a real group identity starts to take shape. The communication is way more open, and you can feel the mutual support. Now's your chance to lock in that new cohesion by setting up some clear team norms. A project communication plan is perfect for this. Think of it as the rules of the road for the team. It spells out who talks to whom, when, and how. It turns all those unspoken assumptions into clear, agreed-upon procedures. And all of these stages, the forming, the storming, the norming, they're all building the foundation for the ultimate goal, which is, you guessed it, the performing stage. This is the peak. The team is now a well-oiled machine. Productivity is high, people are motivated, and they're largely autonomous. The goals are clear, the roles are clear, and they can solve problems without you holding their hand. It's awesome. Your role changes again. You go from being the director to being the delegator. You're there to empower them, clear obstacles out of their way, and make sure they don't fall into traps like groupthink. A team at this stage is delivering real, measurable value that pushes the project forward. But, every journey has to end. And how you handled this final stage is just as critical for long-term success as how you handled the very beginning. Interestingly, Tuckman added this 5th stage, adjourning, later on. This is where the project is done and the team breaks up. It's time to wrap things up, celebrate what you've all accomplished, and do those super important project closure activities, like documenting lessons learned for next time. This stage can be a little bittersweet, for sure, and it brings up a very real management challenge. This dilemma of what to do with people once the project is over. It's so important to handle this transition with care and make sure your team members know what's next for them in their careers. Okay, let's pull this all together. Let's recap your vital role as the guide on this journey, using Tuckman's model as your map. Look, the real power here is that it helps you be proactive instead of reactive. It's an objective lens you can use to figure out where your team is, which means you can then tailor your leadership style to what they actually need. It helps you balance the technical stuff, the what of the project, with the human side, the how. And that balance, that's the real secret sauce. This right here, this is your cheat sheet. For every stage, you can see the typical team behavior and, more importantly, the key action you need to take as their leader. This is the entire map in one simple view. When you think about it, a project manager is a lot like a gardener. You're not just managing a to-do list, you're cultivating a living, breathing team. You have to know when to provide structure, when to help navigate conflict, and when to just step back and let them grow. All to make sure you get a successful harvest in the end. So I'll leave you with this question. Now that you have the map, take a good, honest look at your team. Where are they on this journey? Because once you know where you are, you can start actively guiding them to where they need to go.